Welcome to An Alternate to You. I'm Hugh Anderson, and this is somewhat caught my attention this week. So Les Nessman of WKRP in Cincinnati fame didn't know that turkeys couldn't fly, but Thanksgiving shoppers can tell that the price of turkey is flying through the roof. The reasons include a combination of droughts, the avian flu, and ongoing supply chain issues. The average price of the whole bird is already up 73% year over year and is set to double in the coming month, since 80% of annual consumption of turkeys takes place in November. Expect to see tofu turkeys on your sister-in-law's dining room table this year. They're half the cost and 3 times larger by weight. That may call for extra ketchup. Let's hope that the supply chain doesn't prevent you from getting more of that. So Dr. Pippa Malmgren starts her recent research commentary with a quote from Lennon, not John. He said, "There are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen." Why? Well, Malmgren said, let's remember that the word Ukraine means borderland. The people of the borderlands of the world are realizing something very important. If little Ukraine can win a war against a nuclear superpower, maybe they can take on their rulers too. So let's call this the Ukraine effect. She says we are witnessing the end of the Soviet Union. We thought it ended on the day after Christmas in 1991 as a result of President Gorbachev's Christmas Day speech. But Putin's threat to deploy a nuclear weapon may turn out to be a great gift to modern history, scary as that sounds. Once he threatened Ukraine and the world with a nuclear strike, it became clear that he'd backed himself into a corner, and the Russian military and the Russian people are not going to go down in flames with him. There is no loyalty there, especially now that the officer who carried Russia's nuclear codes was found dead in an apparent suicide, which is pretty impressive considering he was shot in the back of the head with 2 bullets. The oligarchs are also falling off buildings and falling down stairwells and being run over by boats. Seems like biological agents and neurotoxins take too long to work in comparison with these other methods these days. Meanwhile, the youth of Russia are voting with their feet, running away from being gang-pressed onto a battlefield and from the risk of the 15-year jail time they'll now face if they don't join that battlefield. And mothers in Russia, especially those from poor remote Russian republics like Tuva and Chechnya, have had enough too of seeing their sons dying and enough of protecting the territorial integrity of Russia, aka the homeland. When Muscovites turn on Russian security services within sight of the Kremlin, and the Moscow Times reports it, something has gone very, very wrong. Finally, let's consider how superpower nuclear threats have always ended. Every time we get close to a true nuclear exchange, everyone loses their nerve. Next thing you know, the leaders are giving each other bear hugs in some neutral country like Iceland or Finland. Nixon hugged Brezhnev, Reagan hugged Gorbachev, and the images made the markets rally on the expectation of a peace dividend. China wants to grow. It does not want a nuclear confrontation with the U.S., and China is calling the shots for Russia now. China is going to hug Putin so hard that much of Russia and Central Asia will fall under China's influence. Will Putin be held accountable? That's another question for another day. Will the world economy be welcoming Russians back, perhaps with China as their new overlord? Can we imagine a photo of Xi and the next Russian president in a bear hug? Can we imagine the next Russian president in a bear hug with the next American president? Dr. Malmgren can. Now, demographer Neil Howe reports that the small Japanese town of Nagi has more than doubled its birth rate since 2004. Nagi's total fertility rate is 2.95, which is well over 2 times Japan's overall rate of 1.3. Nagi is small. It only has a population of approximately 5,600 people, but it doubled its birth rate between 2005 and 2014. Since then, Nagi's fertility rate has continued to climb. Not only is this higher than the rest of Japan, it's higher than virtually any other developed country. What else is exceptional about Nagi? It's implemented pretty much every possible incentive to have children. Many other countries have funded similar initiatives without dramatic results. An area's birth rate is not just a reflection of how much money is spent on families, but also the values and priorities of its residents. Something to think about as the developed world's population continues to shrink. That's it for today. It is Veterans Day. I don't know when you're going to see this. It depends upon my compliance department. But I want to wish all our veterans and thank them for their service. And I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Stay optimistic.